and welcome back to From the Nosebleeds, a podcast brought to you by myself, Walter Limbeck, and Jacob Wetzel. Wetzel and I have had differing schedules the last 2 weeks. Apologize for that. We haven't gotten an episode out. Thought I'd do an episode this week just to update things. And we're going to focus on basketball. I'll do a kind of end of the year recap for college football beginning of next week, and then look into the off season for that. But we're going to focus strictly on basketball. We'll start out in the Missouri Valley with Bradley. Bradley lost their most recent game to Illinois State. If you follow from _nose on Twitter, I had an instant reaction to that. Lost to Illinois State 71-56, but I've gone and done some research now, looking into some statistics that I find interesting, that I find worrisome. Also, just looking at the conference as a whole. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to point out stats that are good for Bradley, and then switch into stats that are bad or maybe misleading. Bradley leads the MVC in rebounds. They're second in rebound margin. Obviously, we know they crashed the glass very well. Do a really good job at rebounding. I think it's skewing a little bit right now without Ardboya. I think we're a better rebounding team when he plays. And then the past game, Illinois State, we missed Jashawn, who's another good rebounder. I just don't think ranks as strong of a rebounder as those two are. So that kind of hurts us a little bit. Ari's missed a couple games now, and Jashawn, hopefully, we get him back soon. But still doing a really good job rebounding. I think everybody knows that's our strength. Our inside's the strength for us. We also lead the Valley in blocks per game as well. And I think that says, a couple things. One, you've got Ari Boy, a big shot blocker, defensive presence when people are going to the lane. And also, you saw a couple of times in the ISU game, you've seen it, almost every game, there's one play where somebody's hustling back to preventing an easy bucket. And I think that just speaks on the effort and the hustle plays that we make. I think we lacked that a little bit against ISU. I think it seemed like they were making more hustle plays, and usually Bradley's the team leading the way with hustle plays. But yeah, now I want to take a look at efficiency. Bradley is 120th in offensive efficiency. That ranks fourth in the conference. They are 91st in defensive efficiency. That ranks third in the conference. So those are both pretty strong numbers. You're in the top third for both of those of the entire country. Both pretty good numbers, not great. I think the other thing Bradley does well is they're pretty unselfish as a team. They get a lot of assists and always try and find the open guys. We're not really relying too much on one player. I feel like in the ISU game, that wasn't the case. I felt like we were trying to force feed the ball down low, trying to get it inside for touches. And I get it, Elijah Childs is our best player, but at the same time, when they're playing a 3-2 zone and they know that you're going to try and feed him the ball like it looked like, you don't have to force it. Run some different sets, do something different, give them different looks. We give them different looks and confuse them a little bit. So, now I'm going to get into things I don't like and what I'm seeing. So I mentioned the efficiency. The two teams that are consistently ahead of us in offensive and defensive efficiency are Drake and Loyola, who sit at 1 and 2. No surprise there. But how much more efficient are they on offense and defense? Drake ranks 5th on offensive efficiency. That's 115 spots ahead of us. Defensive efficiency, they rank 10th. That's 81 spots ahead of us. Loyola, on the flip side, ranks 15th on offensive. That's 105 spots ahead. 13 on defensive. That's 78 spots ahead. They're far more efficient. I think these are pretty accurate numbers too. I know Deshaun Henry is one of the most efficient players in the country on offense, but he's only missed one game. So I don't think these numbers are that far off from what it'd be if he played against ISU. So the thing is, like a lot of times you'll hear leading up to March, when you're looking for filling out your bracket, teams who rank inside the top 25 on offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency tend to do very well in the tournament. If you're looking for an upset, you look for a mid-major that ranks in the top 25 for both, because generally if they have a good matchup where they're not playing another team that ranks in top 25 for both, they'll have success. So, I mean, that bodes well for Drake and Loyola. And the thing, too, with these efficiency numbers I want to bring up is Bradley, the last 2 years, when they've been able to win the tournament, have ranked in the top 75, both offensively and defensively, in terms of efficiency. There's still time left. They could still rank inside that top 75. Pretty sure defensive efficiency, Bradley's been in the top 25 the last 2 years. So to see him at 91 is kind of a red flag for me. I know offensively we haven't been as efficient as we have been on the defensive side. I still think we've ranked it anywhere from like 70 to the 40s the last 2 years. So it's a bit concerning to see these numbers. I know there's injuries, things like that. But these numbers lean far more in favor of Drake and Loyola than they do us. The other thing I want to point out, typically when you're a mid-major, you want to see good three-point shooting, and you want to see good closeouts and good three-point defense. This is something I've hit on earlier in the year, and it's still true to this day. I haven't mentioned the offensive side as much, but I've noticed the defensive side's been a problem. It's continued to be a problem. I know there's been a couple games where teams have shot lights out and made some crazy shots, and there's not much you can do about that. But at the same time, I mean, teams are continuously shooting at a pretty high rate. So I took a deep dive into the Valley stats, and I noticed this. Drake and Loyola, 3-point offense and 3-point defense are better than us. Drake is number 1 in 3-point offense in terms of field goal percentage and makes per game. They're also number 1 in 3-point defense in terms of field goal percentage and makes per game against. Loyola's 3-point offense. They're number 3 in the Valley on offense in terms of percentage and makes per game. They're number 5 on the defensive side, so they're not as good as Drake, but they can still knock down a lot of threes. The big red flag, Bradley is number 8 on offense in terms of percentage and makes per game, and then 8 on defense in terms of percentage and makes per game. And you take out the 2 non-D1 games where both those teams shot very, very poor from 3, and Bradley's 3-point defense, like their percentage, moves up closer to 38% that teams are making from 3. That's pretty high. That's close to that 40% range that you don't want to get in. And that's what scares me. Is because there's still, I mean, there's teams who in the Valley who can get hot from three. And if that's our biggest weakness, we can't defend the three and then we can't make the three. If a team gets hot from three, I mean, we're done. Game's over. And that's what scares me because in basketball now, you have to be able to shoot the three. And years past, the last 2 years, we've had more than one knockdown shooter from three. We've had DB, we've had Cannell and Ville. We've had more guys that can knock it down than just one. This year, when you take a look at Bradley's team stats, it's Ville and everybody else. There's not really another player on Bradley that is making a very good clip of his 3-point shots. And I mean, we've seen games where Ville struggles. So when he's struggling, who are you going to from three? I don't know. Right now, Ville's shooting at a 38% rate. The next closest is Sean East at 35%. 35% is not great. It's not bad. It's about an average shooting night. I think Ville before the ISU game was around 40%, and so he's dropped down a little. But after that, I mean, everybody else is shooting at like a 33% or lower. And that's just not, I mean, you need Sean East or Terry Nolan to step up and hit more consistent 3-point shots, in my opinion. I think if we had two players around the 38%, that'd be fine. I think we could live with that. Having just one player at the 38% clip makes me feel like, okay, that's all right, but it's not great. I mean, Terry Nolan and Ville shoot by far the most threes on the team. Terry Nolan's percentage is 34%. I mean, again, that's all right, but that's not great. It's not very good. We need a little bit higher clip from him if we're going to be able to turn that around. And other than that, I mean, not many of these guys are shooting a lot of threes. I think Sean East could step up and take more threes if he wanted to. But I mean, nobody's really hitting at a high clip. That's my main point. Nobody's hitting at that high of a clip. Whereas like we've had Nate Cannell the last couple of years be a very good 3-point shooter. We could count on him to hit at least 2 threes a game. Ville's averaging around 2 threes per game, but it's not as consistent as Nate was. There's games where he'll go out and hit 4 or 5, and then there's games where he won't hit any. So I think Nate was a little more consistent, and then you'd get 1 or 2 per game from DB, and then you'd get like 1 off the bench from Ville games. Whereas now it's like you take a look and you're getting your 2 per game from Ville, but it's inconsistent, like I mentioned, and then you're getting like 1 per game from Terry, like 1.5 per game from Terry, and then 1 per game from Sean East. It's just not the same. I mean, when you have Nate who could hit 2 to 3 per game, DB was making around 1, 2. I think last year he was averaging around 2 per game. And then Ville come on off the bench had like 1 per game. And sometimes 2 per game. The point is they were more efficient with their 3-point shooting. They were more efficient offensively and defensively as a team. Right now it's not looking great. I mean, they're still one of the better teams in the Valley offensively and defensively in terms of efficiency, but there's 2 teams ahead of them that are far more efficient on both sides. And, you know, we're very good down low. It's clear and obvious. I think it was obvious to start that Illinois State game. We got out to a 16-4 lead. We're very good down low. So the smaller valley teams, we can kind of bully around in the post. But when they switch up and force us to play with our guards, I think our talent level this year is about equal to everybody else's guard play. And that's not a knock on our guards because there's a lot of really good guards in the valley. Ours don't exceed anybody else's really. I mean, there's a few teams we have better guard play than, but there's also some teams who have better guard play than we do. I mean, Drake for one, I think Drake has better guard play than we do. I think Illinois State has about the same level guard play as we do. They switched up into that 3-2 zone and gave us fits because their guards were hitting shots and our guards weren't. Loyola, I'd say we have about the same guards. I think we kind of cancel them out. And then they cancel us out down low with Krutwig and others. It's just, we were, a lot of people were thinking this is going to be the most talented team, the deepest team, but the stats are saying otherwise. And then I look at the turnover margin. Turnover margin for Drake, they're number one in the Valley at +3 per game. Loyola at +2.93. Bradley's sitting at seventh, and turnover margin at -0.14. And I mean, it might be a little skewed from that ISU game. Turnovers got out of control there for us, and ISU did a relatively good job of keeping track of the ball. But I don't think it's skewed it that much. I still think turnovers are a bit of an issue for us this year. Our assist to turnover ratio, we're fourth in the Valley. Loyola's number one. Drake's number two. So that tells me, well, yes, we do turn over the ball a decent amount. We also spread the ball out. We're unselfish. We're looking for other people. So the turnovers, I don't think are as big of a problem. They can when they get out of hand and the other team takes care of the ball, like you saw with ISU. But generally speaking, I don't think turnovers are going to be a huge problem. I think that 3-point shooting is going to be a problem offensively and defensively, and something that I'm going to continue to look at. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned Drake, Loyola, both in top 25 offensively and defensively in terms of efficiency. There's only 3 other teams that rank in the top 25 for both. I'll get to that later. Right now, we're going to stay in the Valley. Look at the matchup Bradley has this weekend with Loyola. This is a big game. 2 big games. Bradley needs to win one of these. And I think it'll be the second one. I think the first one they get to us. I think the first one Loyola can beat us, but I think the second game we can win. I think adjustments wise, we'll make adjustments necessary. We won't shoot as bad as we did on Wednesday. I don't think we'll have as many turnovers as we did on Wednesday. Those are probably 2 things that Wardle's hitting home on right now, saying, hey, we need to take care of the ball. And we got to shoot better. We got to take advantage of the shots we're given, not force the ball. Just play good team basketball. Wetzel mentioned Loyola doesn't really play a lot of zone. They hardly ever play zone. So I doubt we'll see the 3-2. They'll probably stick to their man marking. But I think both games are going to be close, but I think the first game, I give the edge to Loyola. I think second game, give the edge to Bradley because they'll be hungry. They'll have lost 2 in a row and realize, hey, we need a win right now, or else, this season could get out of control. I understand injuries are playing a problem right now. I understand McAdoo took a leave of absence. Hopefully, everything's all right with his family, and maybe he'll come back this year. Hope all is well on that end. Hope to get Boya back soon. Hope it's not a lingering injury like he had his freshman year. And then hope to get Jashawn back as well soon. You never know with the concussion protocol. I would say he's probably going to miss the Loyola games, but he'll be back next week. Taking a look at the Valley standings, though, a couple teams on pause. Drake's on pause. They'll start back up, I think, next Thursday, I want to say, is when they start back up. Just mentioned Loyola. We play them twice this weekend. I believe most states on pause right now because I think they were playing Drake this weekend. Let me double check just to make sure. Yeah, they were supposed to play Drake. They played S&T to kind of get away from that, and they start back up next 26th. Next Tuesday, I think. So they got a Tuesday and Wednesday series at home with Drake before heading to, before Loyola heads there next weekend. So Drake, Mo State, both on pause. I believe Evansville's on pause right now. They had some positive tests after their game with Bradley. So they're on pause till next weekend. Indiana State, I think, is good to go. I think they play this weekend or Monday. Play Monday, Tuesday against SIU. Should be pretty good game. It seems like Indiana State's found their rhythm again. Getting things back on track for them. ISU's got Valpo this weekend at home, starting tomorrow and then finishing up Sunday. Two teams that aren't very good, but ISU found something against Bradley. Hopefully, they hope to continue what they found against Bradley and move forward. UNI's got a game this weekend. I believe one of their games got pushed back, but they've got a game this weekend against, I have no idea who that is, COE, somebody, but probably get a win there and get back into a Valley play. They'll get back into Valley play next weekend against SIU. So yeah, you look at the Valley right now. You got Drake 1, Loyola 2, Mo State 3, Bradley 4, Evansville 5, Indiana State 6, ISU 7, Northern Iowa 8, Southern Illinois 9, and Valpo sitting at 10. I really think that the 5 through 9 range is going to be interchangeable, and it's going to fluctuate a lot. Hopefully, Bradley doesn't get in that mix and then make it the 4 through 9. No, I mean, Mo State hopes to continue their hot streak as well. But yeah, I mean, we're getting into the thick of things with Valley. We've had a couple teams on pause. It looks like everything will get back rolling next week, hopefully, where all teams are playing, and then we get back on track going towards Arch Madness. So, I mean, I've got my concerns about the Bradley team, like I've mentioned, but still think they're going to be all right. Still think they'll do just fine. I just have a few concerns. Hope to see things change a little bit here going forward and down the stretch as we get more into the thick of Valley play, especially against these better teams like Loyola. Don't want to have any more letdown games, really, like we saw against ISU. Got to be able to beat the teams that you're supposed to. Just as simple as that. Anyways, stay tuned. I'll get to the rest of college basketball here shortly.